Men over 60, if you masturbate regularly, there's something you need to hear. What you don't know about this private habit could be quietly draining your sexual vitality. I've seen it firsthand: erections that aren't as firm, sensitivity that fades, and confidence that crumbles not because of age alone, but because of how you practice self-pleasure. Almost no one talks about it. But today, we will openly, clearly, and without judgment, because knowing the truth could change the way you feel in your body every single day. I'm Dr. Nana. For over 20 years, I've specialized in men's sexual health, especially for those navigating life after 60. In my clinic, I see men face this exact challenge every week. And my goal isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. Masturbation isn't simply good or bad. Done incorrectly, it can strain blood flow, disrupt hormone balance, and even leave you feeling emotionally isolated. Done the right way, it can be a tool for strength and vitality. The difference comes down to three things: your technique, your timing, and how aware you are of your body's needs. In this video, I'll reveal 6 hidden risks you've likely never heard of, how to transform this habit into something that supports your health, and a simple 7-second method to reclaim firmness and drive, all without pills or prescriptions. These are safe, science-backed steps designed for your stage of life. Before we begin, drop a 1 in the comments if this already resonates with you, or oh if it's brand new information. I read every comment myself and respond personally. And don't forget to subscribe to Senior Health Boost for honest, practical strategies to keep you strong, confident, and healthy. Let's start with the first hidden risk, one that targets your emotional well-being in ways most men never expect. There's a silent drain on your energy that's easy to overlook but powerful enough to rob you of your spark, especially if masturbation has become your quick fix for stress, loneliness, or boredom. Many older men find themselves caught in a private cycle, slowly chipping away at their strength without realizing it. Take Robert, a 68-year-old retired engineer. After decades of solving complex problems and enjoying simple pleasures like woodworking and daily walks, he began to feel a strange heaviness. His sleep was fine. His medications hadn't changed. Yet day after day, a deep exhaustion followed him everywhere. When he tried to get back to his projects, he just didn't have the strength. He told me, "Doctor, I don't know what's happening. I wake up feeling like my battery's been drained overnight. I'm embarrassed to even talk about it." That mix of confusion and hidden shame is far more common than most men think. If you've felt something similar, hear me clearly. This is not a weakness of character. It's a health issue, one that deserves respect, attention, and understanding. The root cause of Robert's fatigue traced back to a biological truth most men never learn. Frequent masturbation can spike cortisol, your body's stress hormone. When cortisol stays high, your system shifts into high alert mode, forcing your body to spend energy calming itself down. Over time, recovery slows. Your metabolism stumbles. What once felt like harmless release begins to leave you physically drained and emotionally flat. This quiet pattern doesn't just tire you out, it can spark a slow, steady decline. Fatigue makes it easier to skip physical activity. Less movement means weaker muscles, reduced endurance, and gradual erosion of both heart health and brain sharpness. Each small dip in energy might feel harmless on its own, but together, they build up, leaving you more vulnerable to infections, falls, and a loss of independence you never saw coming. Many men believe constant sexual release will keep them young and strong. It's an appealing idea, but the truth is more complicated. As you age, hormonal and metabolic changes shift the way your body responds to sexual activity. Instead of charging your system, frequent release can quietly drain it. There's a better way. Aim for moderation, no more than 2 to 3 times a week, giving your body rest days to recover. Support your hormone balance with nourishing foods and proper hydration. And while your muscles can recover from fatigue, your brain faces an even deeper challenge. Repeated self-stimulation after 60 can rewire your reward circuits, making you chase relief instead of truly enjoying it. Which brings us to the next hidden risk, one that shifts the focus from your physical energy to your nervous system, and the way dopamine changes your desires over time. In the last part, we uncovered how frequent release can quietly drain your physical energy and chip away at your vitality. But the story doesn't stop with your muscles or your hormones, it reaches deep into your brain's reward system, changing how you feel pleasure itself. Dopamine, often called the brain's reward messenger, is the chemical that gives you that rush of satisfaction after something enjoyable. But here's the twist. In a mature brain, dopamine works differently than it did when you were younger. Over the years, the receptors that respond to dopamine grow less sensitive. That means the same amount of stimulation no longer gives you the same spark. You start needing more and more often just to recapture the level of satisfaction you once felt effortlessly. The habits that once left you relaxed and content may begin to feel flat or unfulfilling. And instead of feeling satisfied after, you may find yourself repeating the behavior, sometimes even multiple times a day chasing that original high, only to come up short. Thomas, a 71-year-old retired high school principal, knew this struggle all too well. A man who had lived his entire life with order, structure, and discipline, he found himself blindsided. It wasn't about pleasure anymore, he told me. It felt like I couldn't think clearly until I did it. It became a daily requirement, like brushing my teeth, except it didn't leave me feeling better afterward. That realization shook him. I'd never felt so out of control, he admitted. And that's where the real concern begins. When a private act shifts from a conscious choice into a daily compulsion, something you must do just to quiet an inner restlessness, it stops being about healthy desire. Instead, it becomes about silencing a craving, one that slowly distances you from your own intentions. Healthy sexual expression is important at every stage of life, but once dopamine-driven urges start to take the wheel, your control slips further and further away. One release becomes a ritual, then twice a day, then more. And each time, your brain adjusts, quietly raising the threshold for what feels rewarding. This is called neuroadaptation, a change in the brain's wiring that traps you in a cycle where the payoff gets harder and harder to reach. When this reward circuit keeps getting triggered by frequent release, the effects extend far beyond the bedroom. Little by little, the things that once brought you joy, reading a book, tending your garden, fixing something in the garage, no longer feel as satisfying. You might notice your thoughts becoming foggier, your attention wandering, or a strange emotional dullness creeping in, like the color slowly fading out of your daily life. And even though your body still works, the desire to connect with other people can begin to shrink. You might pull away from friends, family, or even your partner, not because you don't care, but because your brain has learned to funnel all of its craving into one narrow target: sexual release. This is what experts call neurochemical hijacking, when your reward system is essentially taken hostage, serving one craving at the expense of all the others. Instead of spreading your sources of pleasure across connection, companionship, creativity, and purpose, it narrows your world down to one repeated act. The cost? Your life becomes less vibrant, less connected, and less fulfilling. The tragedy is that it often happens so gradually, you don't even notice the change until much of the joy around you has been replaced by a single, fleeting spark. The good news? Your brain has an incredible ability called neuroplasticity, the power to adapt, change, and rebuild healthier reward pathways, no matter your age. Slowing the pattern is the first step to regaining balance. Space your sessions so at least a day passes between them. Move your body. Even a short walk or gentle workout can raise dopamine in a more stable, sustainable way. Revisit a hobby you've neglected. Pick up that half-finished book. Call someone you trust. Every time you choose a different, healthy form of reward, you're training your brain to enjoy a richer and more varied life again. Because intimacy is about far more than climax. It's about sharing your thoughts, enjoying affectionate touch, laughing together, and building a bond. When masturbation becomes your only outlet for comfort or stress relief, it slowly suffocates those deeper human experiences, the ones that give life meaning. These shifts might seem invisible, but they carry enormous weight. And now that we've explored the hidden changes happening in your brain, it's time to look at another risk, one that could threaten your life in an instant. We're about to talk about your heart and the sudden, dangerous strain that even a seasoned cardiologist might overlook when it comes to self-stimulation. Frank, a man who had spent decades carefully managing his high blood pressure with discipline, medication, and a healthy diet, thought he was doing everything right until he learned about this hidden link. And that's where we'll pick up in the next section. In the last section, we uncovered how changes in your brain's reward system can reshape desire itself. But there's another risk that's harder to see, one that can strike suddenly, without warning, and it's all about your heart. Frank was 72 and felt confident about his health. He stayed active, kept his blood pressure under control, and followed his cardiologist's advice to the letter. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, he began experiencing sudden chest tightness, a pounding heartbeat, and dizzy spells. There was no obvious pattern, leaving both Frank and his doctor puzzled. It was his wife quietly paying attention, who spotted what Frank hadn't wanted to admit. The symptoms appeared shortly after his private sexual release. Here's why that matters. Sexual arousal and climax put a unique type of stress on your cardiovascular system. In just a few seconds, heart rate and blood pressure can surge sharply, even more intensely than during certain forms of exercise. That spike, brief as it is, may overwhelm a heart that's already dealing with age, hypertension, diabetes, or a history of heart disease. Frank assumed he was safe because his numbers were good and he stayed active. But sexual exertion isn't the same as a brisk walk or doing yard work. During orgasm, the heart can jump 30 to 50 beats per minute almost instantly, and blood pressure can climb in seconds. A younger, healthy heart may tolerate that burst, but an older, repaired, or stiffened heart can struggle. Think of it like an older car. It can cruise down the highway smoothly, but a sudden, hard push on the gas can reveal weaknesses you didn't know were there. The heart works the same way. Normal daily activity feels fine, but that rapid surge from arousal even during solo moments can strain the system in a way it's not prepared for. Unlike exercise, which warms the heart up gradually, masturbation often hits all at once. The privacy, the sudden buildup of sexual tension, and the lack of pacing combine to create a powerful, unpredictable load on your cardiovascular system. And without any warning, that's when the real risk begins. These issues are often invisible until something goes wrong, and by then, the damage may already be serious. As Dr. Nana, I can tell you, we'd much rather help you manage these risks early than treat you in the middle of a cardiac emergency. The good news is, you can take steps to protect yourself. Moderate how often you engage in sexual activity. Keep the intensity reasonable, especially if you have known heart concerns. Be open with your doctor, yes, even about masturbation. There is absolutely no shame in discussing your sexual health with your physician. In fact, it's a vital part of your overall health profile, especially after 60. And if you ever feel chest discomfort, notice an irregular heartbeat, experience dizziness, or find yourself short of breath during or after release, treat it as a serious warning. Don't dismiss it as just getting older. Those symptoms could signal a heart problem that needs attention now, not later. Sometimes, a simple conversation with your doctor can prevent a life-threatening event and allow you to keep enjoying a safe, fulfilling, intimate life for years to come. Because your sexual well-being and your heart health aren't separate, they're connected. They deserve the same respectful care and attention you'd give to any other part of your body. While we've focused here on the physical strain your heart can face, there's another risk that deserves just as much attention. It's quieter, but just as damaging over time. Using masturbation as your main way to manage stress or loneliness can gradually weaken your mental clarity, emotional balance, and even the sharp thinking you've spent decades building. And that brings me to David, 69 years old, a trusted accountant whose greatest strength was his mind. Lately, his family had noticed changes. He seemed distracted, less focused, and more distant from the people who mattered most. David put it simply, "I'd find myself unable to concentrate on anything else. My thoughts would just circle back, over and over. I couldn't focus on conversations with my grandchildren. I couldn't even finish reading the newspaper." This wasn't just a momentary lapse, and in the next part, we'll uncover why it happens and how to prevent it from taking hold. In the last section, we saw how David's sharp mind began to slip as he relied more and more on sexual release to cope with life's pressures. This isn't just a personal quirk, it's a pattern I see often in men over 60, and it can quietly shape your mental and emotional world. When sexual release becomes your main coping mechanism, it doesn't happen overnight. It can start small, maybe after retirement, during a period of health issues, or when friends and loved ones drift away. But over time, it steps in as an easy stand-in for working through deeper feelings. Older men often face multiple life transitions at once, changes in health, routine, and social circles, which can make them more emotionally vulnerable. In those moments, masturbation can feel like the quickest form of comfort. But when it takes center stage, your mind risks getting stuck in a narrow, repetitive loop, instead of building healthier ways to cope. Each release gives your brain a quick hit of dopamine and endorphins, chemicals that lift your mood temporarily. The problem is, when you depend on that rush too often, your brain loses flexibility. You may notice a mental fog settling in, a kind of rigid, one-track thinking that gradually chips away at your ability to focus and think clearly. There are warning signs to watch for. difficulty concentrating on everyday tasks, using sexual release as a way to avoid dealing with problems, feeling irritable or anxious when you can't get that release, neglecting relationships, hobbies, or basic responsibilities, short-term memory slips or a cloudy mind afterward. Protecting your mental clarity and emotional balance is essential because life offers far more than an endless loop of release and regret. You can create a stronger, more balanced foundation with simple, proven tools. Try mindfulness practices to reconnect with your breath and calm your nervous system. Step outside for a daily walk, or explore something like Tai Chi to release stress and tension in a gentler, more sustainable way. Channel your energy into activities that nourish you. Painting, playing music, journaling, or even tackling a project you've been putting off. Seek connection, meet new people, volunteer, or join a local club to rebuild your sense of belonging. And if you feel stuck, don't hesitate to talk to a professional counselor. Sometimes you need a safe space to work through grief, retirement, changes, or other heavy emotions. These healthy habits break the cycle of leaning solely on sexual pleasure for comfort and give you space to grow. Emotional growth happens when you allow yourself to sit with difficult feelings instead of running from them. Sexual pleasure can and should remain part of your life, but as one piece of a larger, richer emotional landscape, not the only refuge you turn to. While the cognitive and emotional impacts of over-reliance can build slowly over time, the next concern can show itself far more quickly. It changes the way you see yourself in the mirror, and it can quietly chip away at your confidence. I met James in my clinic, a 73-year-old man who never thought much about losing a few hairs in the shower. Like many men, he expected some thinning. His father had gone bald early, after all. But what alarmed him was the speed. In just 6 months, the hair at his temples and crown had thinned dramatically. The soft, healthy texture he'd known for years had turned coarse and fragile almost overnight. James came to me frustrated, confused, and embarrassed. He blamed it on age and family genes, convinced nothing could be done. But during our consultation, I noticed his pattern didn't match ordinary male pattern baldness. The loss was happening too fast, suggesting something else was accelerating the process. After some careful discussion, we found the missing piece. Since retiring, James had become more sexually active not with a partner, but through daily self-pleasure as a way to manage stress. At first glance, it seemed harmless. But this daily habit triggered repeated hormone surges, temporary boosts in testosterone, and more importantly, a compound called DAT, or dihydrotestosterone. DAT is like a silent saboteur in men who are genetically vulnerable. It binds to receptors in hair follicles and gradually shrinks them. Over time, those follicles become so small they can no longer grow hair at all. And that's where we'll continue next, looking at how daily sexual habits can affect not just your energy and mind, but also your appearance, and what you can do to protect it. Normally, hair loss from DAT is a slow process, one that takes years to unfold. But when your body experiences repeated, frequent hormone surges, that timeline can speed up dramatically, hitting your scalp harder and faster than you ever expected. If daily masturbation has become part of your routine, especially during retirement, you may be unknowingly fueling those hormonal swings. This doesn't mean you have to shut down your sexuality. It simply means it's time to see the bigger picture. Your genetics may set the stage, but your habits can step on the accelerator. James didn't want another lecture about fate, he wanted a practical solution. So, we built a step-by-step plan together. If you've noticed your hair feeling thinner after weeks of frequent sexual release, you can take action right now. Start by reducing frequency to every other day, or even less, to help stabilize hormone levels. Keep a small journal and note how your hair responds over a few weeks. You might be surprised by the improvement. Next, speak with your doctor about medical options. Medications like finasteride can block DAT, slowing the shrinkage of hair follicles and helping you preserve what you have. It's not a magic fix, but it can buy time, and with it, confidence. Beyond medication, pay attention to how your daily lifestyle supports or strains your hormones. Eat foods rich in zinc, biotin, and lean protein to fortify your hair at the cellular level. Stay active with moderate exercise like walking, light weight training, or swimming, all of which boost circulation and help reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that can also disrupt hormonal balance. Stress management goes deeper than you might think. Ongoing tension or emotional strain can ripple through your entire hormonal network, including testosterone and DAT. That's why techniques like mindful breathing, engaging in hobbies, or spending time with friends are more than just nice extras. They're essential tools for protecting both your hair and your energy. The key is balance. Moderate masturbation isn't harmful on its own. The goal is to find a rhythm that supports your overall health instead of tipping your hormones out of balance. By listening to your body's signals instead of pushing past them, you stay in control, rather than letting those signals control you. When James recognized the link between his sexual habits and his hair loss, everything shifted. He stopped viewing baldness as a punishment and started seeing it as a clue, a warning sign that helped him restore balance, protect his self-esteem, and feel more at ease in his own skin. While hair loss mostly changes how you look in the mirror, the next challenge strikes much closer to the core of your sexual confidence. And this one can be even more personal, because what happens below the belt can alter how you live every single day. Most men expect mild changes in sexual performance as the years go by. But what I'm about to reveal goes far beyond normal aging. The hidden truth is that repeated, intense self-stimulation can actually train your brain to crave one specific pattern of pleasure. When that pattern is disrupted, like when you're with a new partner, your body may not respond the way you want. Michael, 66, learned this the hard way. After his long marriage ended, he was ready to reconnect with his sexuality and feel alive again. But despite strong arousal, he found his erections were weaker, faded quickly, and left him worrying about failing in front of someone new. That kind of disappointment chips away at confidence. It can make dating feel like stepping into battle without armor. And here's the thing, this isn't simply about low testosterone or sluggish blood flow, though both can play a part. The deeper problem lies in the brain. When you constantly stimulate yourself in one predictable way, you hardwire your arousal to follow that exact path. And in the next section, we'll explore how this arousal wiring works and what you can do to reset it. When the setting or pace changes as it does in real-world intimacy, your brain can struggle to adapt. Over time, the habits you repeat alone carve deep grooves into your nervous system. Each session of solo release reinforces those grooves, making them deeper and more rigid. So, when you try to be intimate with a partner, your arousal often wants to stay on that same well-worn track. It resists traveling a different path. That's why some men find that what once felt natural and automatic now feels awkward, unreliable, or even impossible without those same solo triggers. Doctors call this weakened erection quality. Erections that lose firmness too quickly, require more intense or specific stimulation to stay strong, or fade when the setting changes. Many men tell me they have no trouble when they're alone, but the moment a partner is involved, everything falls apart. That mismatch can feel humiliating. And when it happens repeatedly, it doesn't just affect the bedroom, it drains the desire for closeness altogether. But I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You haven't failed. These changes are simply the result of your brain adapting to repetition. The encouraging news? Your arousal pathways can recover. With the right approach, you can retrain your sexual responses, rebuild flexibility, and break free from the trap. Here's a clear step-by-step action plan you can start today. Step 1. Take a reset period of yourself 7 to 14 days without any sexual activity, no masturbation, no partner sex. Think of this as pressing the reset button on your body's natural sexual wiring. This pause lets your nerves and brain circuits rest, regain sensitivity, and prepare to respond to new, more diverse forms of stimulation. Step 2. Change your routine when you return to sexual activity. Resist falling back into the same habits. Use a lighter touch, explore different angles, slow your pace, or change your position. These small changes disrupt the old patterns and help your mind and body relearn how to respond more like they do with a real partner. Step 3. Slow down with mindfulness. Instead of rushing toward climax, pay attention to every sensation. The way your breathing changes, the subtle shifts in muscle tension, the warmth spreading through your body. The slower you go, the more you retrain your arousal to respond to the experience itself, rather than a single mental script. Step 4. Add partner-like elements. Even if you're alone, you can introduce cues that mimic shared intimacy, sounds, movements, or textures that feel closer to partner touch. These cues help bridge the gap between solo and partnered experiences, making the transition smoother and more natural. Step 5. Redefine pleasure. Shift your focus away from orgasm as the only goal. See pleasure as the entire journey from initial arousal, to connection, to the sense of being fully present in your body. When you release the pressure to perform perfectly, you create space for your sexual system to recover its full range of feeling and function. Here's something crucial to remember. The male body, even well into the later decades of life, can adapt in remarkable ways. What feels stuck or lost is often just a pattern that needs gentle reshaping. Patience, compassion for yourself, openness to trying new techniques, and the belief that your sex life can improve. These are the keys to long-term success. I've seen countless men follow this approach and experience powerful changes: firmer, more dependable erections, renewed confidence in the bedroom, and a deeper sense of closeness with their partners. They've proven that both body and mind can be reawakened, no matter how long they've been locked into the same routine. Part of the reason this problem flies under the radar is because it creeps in gradually. Weak erection quality from repeated solo patterns doesn't slam into your life overnight. It moves in quietly, a little less firmness here, a little more hesitation there, until one day you realize you feel distant from genuine connection, or anxious about intimacy itself. Think of your sexual function like a bridge. Over time, even a strong bridge needs reinforcement. If it's neglected, cracks appear, but with the right repairs, it can carry more weight than ever before. Your sexual confidence works the same way. With a bit of maintenance and attention, it can come back stronger than you thought possible. Masturbation after 60 doesn't wear a moral label of good or bad. It's simply a tool. How you use it determines whether it supports your health or slowly drains your vitality. That choice is in your hands, literally and figuratively. This stage of life isn't about giving up pleasure or eliminating the things you enjoy. It's about approaching them with greater intention, more care, and the wisdom you've earned. You have the chance to create a new chapter that's richer, more satisfying, and more meaningful than ever before. Your body still responds. Your desire still matters. These aren't leftovers from your youth, they are living, vibrant parts of you right now. With a few small shifts in your habits, you can transform private moments from something that leaves you feeling flat into something that energizes, uplifts, and connects you more deeply with yourself and others. Masturbation, when balanced, can be a source of energy, confidence, and well-being, not regret or frustration. The key is knowing how to keep it in its place, so it supports your health rather than undermines it. If this conversation struck a chord with you, remember your journey doesn't end here. I'll be sharing a simple, natural approach in an upcoming Senior Health Boost video that has already helped thousands of men restore strength, purpose, and sexual vitality. Some have felt a difference as soon as the next morning. So don't miss out. Hit that like button, subscribe to Senior Health Boost, and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when it's released. You've invested decades in building your life. Now it's time to invest in keeping your body, mind, and intimacy thriving for decades to come.